Scientists are telling Time magazine about their goals in researching marijuana. This is actually from the Weed blog by a blog from Rick Thompson, Ending Marijuana Prohibition. In the wake of the DEA's refusal to move cannabis from the list of most addictive and non-medical drugs, Time magazine sought opinions on the future of cannabis science from experts currently conducting research with marijuana. The casual statements about the safety of cannabis made by the experts are noteworthy. Okay, scientists argue that studying marijuana is safe and researching it shouldn't be such a difficult process. A question that is not on the lips of research is whether or not the consumption of cannabis-based medicine is safe, says Gregory Gerdeman, an assistant professor of biology at Eckerd College. Quote, in the biomedical research community, it is universally understood that cannabis is very safe, very tolerated medicine. Thank you. So, alright, I might make the case that these guys are not only mad that the cannabis and marijuana was left on Schedule 1, but they're also kind of like, maybe it shouldn't even be on Controlled Substance Act altogether, because we can study it safely. We don't need to go through the same rigmaroles as we do with these pharmaceuticals that are unknowns and just like chemicals that who knows what the side effects are, who knows what the dangers are. Well, marijuana's been around for 6,000 years. I'm pretty sure we know what the side effects are, and there pretty much isn't no dangers, so let's move on. Okay, a standard line used continually during the drug war is that marijuana destroys your brain. Yeah, I've heard that since I was a kid. Researchers say it, but that's not exactly true. Studies have shown small structural changes in the brains of people who use marijuana, and researchers say there is little doubt that using marijuana has effects on the brain. However, whether those changes are actually bad remains unknown. It's an important question with tremendous policy implications, says Gerdman. While the media interprets such changes de facto as evidence of damage, they're within the range of normal human variation as far as we currently understand. And it's not brain cells dying, believe me. It is widely understood that marijuana is valuable and safe as a palliative medicine, which undermines the tenets of the Schedule 1 status. Other scientists quoted in the article include Vanderbilt University's Sachin Patel, who studies the cannabis plant, and Dr. Lester Grinspoon of Harvard Medical School, one of the most foremost studiers of medical cannabis. The 7 things the scientists want to see studied include long-term effects of cannabis use, how it helps in anxiety, and its effects on tumors and cancer. That's where that blog kind of just dropped off, but there was a couple more things from the article. What dosage or strains have the best use in medicine? Researchers say they want to know more about how much marijuana is needed to treat a person's disorder and for how long. Like all drugs, FDA-approved therapeutics or recreational, marijuana will have some unwanted side effects, say Sinai's Heard. In addition, researchers are still looking into what strains are most beneficial and whether a person needs the whole plant or just one compound. You gotta have everything that the plant has to offer. It's full of antioxidants and like omega acids. There's a lot you can do with marijuana. You should research that if you don't know. It's very good for your health to consume marijuana. Can marijuana help brain and cognitive problems? Some researchers want to study whether marijuana can stave off Alzheimer's disease or even mitigate brain damage from stroke or concussions. Now, the government's already done studies on this and has patents on that very thing that he just said that they want to study. And since the 60s, the U.S. government has had a monopoly on marijuana research, and it was all being conducted in one lab in University of Mississippi. So anyway, now other renowned, these guys, Gerdeman and Grinspoon, these guys are renowned studiers of medical marijuana for decades. They've been writing opinions and putting out papers about it. So, they want to know about anxiety. Some people suggesting marijuana could help with people's anxiety, but the relationship is still not well understood. Without the clinical trials, it might be a long time before we know for sure. Can marijuana help end the opioid epidemic? Several doctors are interested in the use of marijuana as an alternative or adjunct to opioids. In the U.S., currently in the midst of an epidemic of painkiller addiction, they say if you give opiates along with cannabis, the synergistic effect, which means you can give less of the opioid, and if you give the opiate for a shorter period. Dr. Lester Grinspoon is Associate Professor Emeritus of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. A 2016 study found doctors in states where marijuana was legal prescribed an average of 1,826 fewer doses of painkillers per year. So it sounds like they already have pretty good anecdotal data to support studies, just kind of looking from the outside looking in and just saying, well, hey, we already see that there's a lot of less people taking prescription painkillers and if they have medical marijuana available as an option. So that should open the door wide for studies without having to go through the Food and Drug Administration's rigorous trials, and where they got these things called placebos. Well, what are you going to do with marijuana? You got a placebo marijuana that doesn't have any THC in it or something. I don't know what you're going to do there. None of their studies really work, and they can't really prove that they work. They can't prove that any of their conclusions are really based in reality on a lot of these medicines, a lot of these pills that they're calling good to go. And some of the side effects have been known to do everything from anything to kill you all the way down to make you really depressed or suicidal, kill yourself. It's terrible. But what they get, in these studies that they do, who knows, they basically have so corrupt system where they pay the lab has their own rules that they have to follow, and then they make these laws to where they have to do things a certain way when they're conducting their study, and then by the time their results is compared to what the lab needs, it looks like they did something good when they really haven't done anything. We've seen this time and time again with many prescription pills, including painkillers, where they've made several kind of analog pills out of different parts of the opiate family, and it's just been disaster after disaster. And here we are today with an epidemic of opiates. Everywhere you look, you got either prescription pills or heroin, just devastating communities, and almost everybody in this country is touched in some way from opiate addiction today. So it's they should definitely look into whether or not you could use THC or marijuana as a replacement therapy for opiates. Gee, wouldn't that be wonderful? But nope, their hands are tied in a lot of ways. Finally, they want to know about long-term side effects of marijuana. What are the effects on the developing brain? This is a particularly important question since our preclinical studies suggested that parental and adolescent THC exposures can have long-term impact into adulthood long after the drug was administered. That is just outright bullshit. They can't prove that. There is no way they can prove that. There's never been any studies to indicate that. So, alright, I'm going to get out of here. But, yep, I just don't understand how you can just justify staying on schedule when you have all these scientists that have already been studying it and have results that they can show you. I mean, it's just outrageous.